The road curled up the mountainside like a ribbon of cracked asphalt, and Lena Cross followed it with the kind of hope that hurts. The moving truck behind her carried everything she owned, boxes labeled healing, new life, and start over in her handwriting. The divorce papers were still fresh in her glove compartment, but today she wanted to believe in fresh air and second chances. When she finally pulled into the gravel driveway, the cabin looked exactly as it had online: weathered pine siding, chipped paint, windows clouded with age. It wasn't much, but it was hers. The quiet was almost holy. No traffic, no voices. Just wind through the trees and the distant hush of a river. For the first few days, she worked alone, scraping old wallpaper, sweeping out dust thick as regret. Every nail hammered felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. At night, she'd light a candle, sip wine, and imagine laughter echoing off the cabin walls. But then, on the fourth night, something changed. A faint glow pulsed through the front window. Her stomach tightened. She'd left no lights on. The air outside bit at her face as she stepped into the dark, heart thudding like a warning. She crept around the porch, each plank groaning beneath her boots. Through the glass, she saw movement, shadows stretching across the floor, a flicker of firelight dancing on the walls. Her voice barely carried, "Hello." The door opened before she touched the knob. A woman stood there, mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair pulled tight like a noose. "You're trespassing," Lena managed. The woman's mouth twisted into a half-smile. "No," she said softly. "You are." Behind her, the fire popped. A mug sat steaming on the mantel as if she'd lived there for years. Lena stepped back, the night closing around her. The fog thickened, swallowing the cabin in white. She didn't notice the faint light still glowing from the upstairs window, long after the woman shut the door. The night after that first encounter, Lena didn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table miles away, surrounded by papers, bank statements, mortgage approvals, signed deeds, proof that the cabin was hers. The documents looked fragile in the lamplight, as if a strong breath could erase them. She told herself it was a misunderstanding, that by morning it would all be cleared up. By noon, she drove back up the mountain. The road that had once felt like promise now seemed endless and narrow, each turn heavy with dread. When she reached the cabin, her stomach dropped. A pickup truck sat in the driveway. Children's bicycles leaned against the porch. Smoke rose lazily from the chimney. She froze, gripping her folder of papers like a weapon. The door swung open. Karen stood there again, this time smiling. "Oh, you're back," she said pleasantly, as though Lena were a neighbor stopping by uninvited. "I have proof," Lena said, voice shaking. "This house is mine." Karen blinked slowly. "We've lived here for months." "Who are you again?" The words hit harder than she expected. When the police arrived, their lights bathed the snow in cold blue flashes. Officer Daniels flipped through Lena's paperwork while Karen leaned on the porch rail, calm and steady. A man, Doug, she learned, stood behind her, one arm draped over her shoulder, the picture of domestic peace. Their kids laughed somewhere inside. "It's a civil matter," Daniels said finally. "You'll have to settle it through the courts." Lena stared at him, speechless. "You're telling me I can't even go inside my own house?" Karen sighed sympathetically. "Sometimes people get confused. Titles, dates, it happens." Doug added softly, "You should be careful driving up here in the snow." As the officers left, the porch lights flickered on, glowing warm and steady, like a welcome meant for someone else. The laughter from inside echoed into the night, chasing Lena down the gravel road. Behind her, the cabin lights stayed on long after she disappeared into the dark. The next morning, Lena parked a mile down the road, afraid to get too close. The cabin looked peaceful from a distance, smoke curling from the chimney, children's laughter spilling into the cold air. To anyone else, it was a picture of home. To her, it was theft dressed as normalcy. She started knocking on nearby doors, desperate for someone to believe her. Most neighbors hesitated, eyes darting toward the cabin before answering. Finally, one man, older, gray beard, oil-stained hands, let her inside. His name was Eli Harker. "I know them," he said quietly, pouring her coffee that smelled of burnt toast. "The Millers. Couple years back, they did this over in Cedar Valley. Moved right into a foreclosed place. claimed the deed was theirs. By the time the real owners fought it in court, the Millers had sold everything inside. Lena gripped the mug. But the police? Eli shook his head. They don't leave easy. They make you look crazy first. Outside, wind scraped dead branches against the window. For a moment, she swore she saw a figure by her car, standing too still to be random. When she blinked, it was gone. Later, as she drove off, the steering pulled hard to the right. She stopped, heart pounding. Both front tires were flat, slashed clean. The snow around them was marked with footprints leading back toward the road. She sat there, breath fogging the windshield, hands trembling on the wheel. They knew she was asking questions. They wanted her scared. When she finally looked back toward the cabin, the porch light blinked twice, on, off, on again, like someone knew she was watching. The discovery of small, hidden cameras outside the cabin's windows pushed Lena past reason. Every glance at the porch, every flicker of movement inside had been recorded, catalogued, and observed. Rage burned through her chest as she stormed up the snowy path, clutching a wrench like a weapon. The front door swung open before she reached it. Karen stood there, perfectly composed, her calm smile like a knife. "Back so soon?" she asked, tilting her head. "Enough!" Lena shouted, voice breaking. "I've had it. You have no right." She shoved past her, stepping into the warmth of the cabin, only to be met with silence, then the sound of children giggling from the corner. Doug lingered near the fireplace, arms crossed, expression blank. Karen's eyes hardened. "Do you want to know the truth?" she asked quietly. Lena hesitated. "I never had a father who owned this house." Lena froze. What do you mean?" "It's about revenge," Karen spat, stepping closer. "My husband lost this house years ago to foreclosure. To me, everything that was taken, I'm taking back. And you're just another obstacle." Lena's hands shook, wrench clattering to the floor. Windows rattled as the winter wind cut through the broken door she'd slammed open. Glass shards glimmered on the wooden floor. Her chest tightened, heart hammering in panic and disbelief. "You can't do this," Lena whispered, voice trembling. You're insane." Karen laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Insane? Maybe. But you'll see, you'll remember me. And by the time the world believes you, it'll be too late." Lena backed toward the doorway, mind racing. Fight or flee? There was no safety, no authority willing to intervene. Outside, the snow fell silently, untouched, mocking her helplessness. Weeks later, Lena returned, the mountain road beneath her tires slick with early frost. Police had done what they could. The Millers were gone, the cabin empty, but the memory of their intrusion lingered like smoke in the rafters. She stepped inside, chest tight, every floorboard creaking under her boots, echoing her own heartbeat. A single family photo sat on the mantel, a frozen scene of Karen, Doug, and their children. Lena's fingers hovered over the frame, hesitating. The wind whistled through a cracked window, making the curtains flutter like ghostly arms. Her phone buzzed, a voice message. She pressed play. "They're gone, I think." Her throat tightened. The words brought no relief, only a hollow, lingering tension. She walked through the room slowly, noticing the emptiness, the way the air carried traces of lives that weren't hers. Every corner seemed to watch her, every shadow whispering secrets she didn't want to hear. Finally, she locked the door, turned the key slowly, and exhaled. Silence. But then, a soft, deliberate thump upstairs. Her pulse spiked. Footsteps. Deliberate. Familiar. Unseen. The mountain held its breath with her, and Lena realized some houses never forget, never forgive, and neither do the people who once claimed them.